What I like to describe the Santa Claus is that it's the Shrek of Christmas movies. As in, there's a lot of adult references and jokes in this.
Johnson's secretary sitting in his lap. You guys have a great party, have a great... It's okay, I'm used to it. I lived through the 60s.
What was the last thing you and Charlie did before you went to bed Christmas Eve?
We shared a bowl of sugar, some shots of brown liquor, played with my shotguns, field dressed a cat, looked for women. I read him a book, Hollywood Wives. The night before Christmas, folks, come on.
Gary, nice. Veronica, very nice.
In your dreams.
I know a lot of kids' movies tend to do that, but what I mean by the Shrek of Christmas movies is that this movie tends to do it more explicitly. Which is, of course, one of the charms in this classic Christmas movie. Another charm in this movie is Tim Allen himself playing Scott Calvin, aka Santa Claus. What I like about Scott in this movie is that he's a likable asshole. As in the kind of asshole you're supposed to hate, but you can't help but love him because he's funny.
I ran real late today. You wouldn't believe the traffic out here. Yeah, same to you!
However, most of the funny jokes come from his hatred for Billy Rosewood.
It's more like a feeling, you know, more like a state of mind than a person.
Kind of like Neil. You going to your mom's for dinner?
Actually, we're going to be with Neil's family.
Christmas at the pound.
Neil's a real good cook.
Yeah, and you should see him walk on water.
I also quote this scene every time I watch this movie. He's not a doctor, he's a psychiatrist. If I were to see this movie in the theater when this movie came out and I am the same age I am now, and you were to tell me this guy is going to become Santa Claus, I would enjoy this movie even more. And I'm sorry, but it took until adulthood for me to realize that the concept of a man accidentally killing Santa Claus and then he becomes Santa after is just amazing.
You killed him!
Did not. Also, I never got why Scott had a constant deniability that him and Charlie went to the North Pole. Because if it was a dream, you sure as hell both had the same dream. Another charm in this movie is, of course, Charlie. Yeah, he's no Eddie Furlong or River Phoenix, probably because the script mostly tells him to be a sad little cracker on Christmas. Okay, him standing like that, he kind of looks like a grown man, doesn't he? You know, he's a little man. What I like about Charlie and Scott's relationship here is that they make it very clear that Scott is a hard-working father, while also having the time to see his son. I feel like a more cliched movie would have him be a deadbeat father who barely sees his son, but it's the complete opposite, and yes, parents like that do exist.
I like the bears in the North Pole, Dad.
There were no polar bears in that scene. Also, if anyone asks me why I don't want kids, I'm gonna play this scene as the answer.
You do believe in Santa, right, Dad?
Of course I believe in Santa. Please go to sleep.
Dad,
What is it, Charlie?
maybe we better leave some cookies and milk out. Just in case, okay?
Great. I'll just go preheat the oven.
And don't forget the fire extinguisher.
Good night, Charlie.
My eyes! Early days CGI! The goggles do nothing! Now let's talk about Charlie's mom. It's kind of sad that Wendy Crewson is basically a nobody actress, because she's legitimately good.
Concept of how dangerous this is to a little boy?
Whoa, how dangerous?
Come on, Charlie, we're going home. Coming up and down on his bed wearing a red hat and galoshes.
I feel like the part where they force Charlie to be separated from Scott can be seen by many as the part in Frozen where they have Elsa be separated from Anna, which I did at one point, but I've learned to appreciate it more because, again, with the jokes, this is more of a adult/kids Christmas movie. There's also a nice scene in the movie where Laura and Neil talk about when they stopped believing in Santa. It's a good scene because they were really young when they stopped believing. I also like that in the climax, the cops aren't taking this seriously. I think the joke of this scene explains for itself. Also, that cop kind of looks like Galt from Rambo, doesn't he? Next, the elves. The idea of making them played by kids is really good.
And I'm not a kid.
I've seen people like the Nostalgia Critic criticize this movie that it's going to take away jobs from midget actors.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
However, I felt like kids were chosen for the sake of uniqueness. And I also feel like kids were chosen for the kids in the audience to feel relatability, like they're actually working at the North Pole. Then there's the oldest elf, Bernard, I assume he's the oldest because he's played by a teenager or adult.
Is.
Excuse me, are we on a coffee break?
We don't drink coffee.
Then I guess the break is over. Back to work, thanks.
You sure he's not on the naughty list? Also, what the hell are the executives at Nintendo doing at a random ass restaurant in America?
Out pops the cookie.
You know, with all the adult jokes in this movie, how come there's not one about diabetes?
Just a quick one. And, not over any oceans, Scott. Scott.
Bye!
Santa!
You know for a fact the X is disobeying. You know, there's only one thing holding the Santa Claus 2 back from being a perfect sequel. Why the hell are these elves CGI? They removed a lot of the adult references, which is what made the first movie great. Seriously, both movies are more focused on being kids' movies than appealing to both kids and adults. Anyway, the Santa Claus 2 is really good. My biggest gripe with this movie is that why did it take 8 years to make this movie? Yeah, 8 years, what took them so long? However, it was worth the wait because older Charlie is now on the naughty list.
Sheen? I thought he straightened out.
Oh yeah, reference Charlie Sheen, cause kids when the movie came out and after will sure as hell get that reference. Actually, if you know anything about Charlie Sheen, maybe he does deserve to be on the naughty list. Charlie's reason for becoming a troublemaker is actually pretty decent.
My friends get to go around saying, you know, my dad's a plumber, my dad's a pilot, my dad's a dentist. Well, you know what? My dad is the best thing of all, and I can't tell anyone about it.
I wouldn't say it's worth vandalizing a school, but hey, it's different. And I'll give Scott this, at least he knows when to punish his kid, unlike real life parents. Actually, that's a good point. Why couldn't you use the snow globe to bring your dad back? Next, the de-Santification storyline, where he needs to find a Mrs. Claus, or else he's not Santa anymore. So basically, he's Taylor Swift in this scenario.
True love, not valid in the state of Utah.
You see, kids, the joke is, when you get divorced in Utah, she gets half! Which leads us to Charlie's principal and the love interest, Carol. And do you, the viewer, want to know the difference between her and Phoebe Waller-Bridge? 1, she actually looks like a woman. 2, she's a woman that legit scares me.
Good morning, Principal Newman.
Mr. Picardo, I want you to look into my eyes. What do you see?
It's dark, and it's cold.
It's your future, Mr. Picardo.
What makes this relationship good is that it's Scott dating Charlie's least favorite person in the whole wide world, the principal. I mean, come on. You, the viewer, will never forgive your parents either for dating the one who's been failing you on purpose 24/7.
I'm Santa Claus.
What?
Oh yeah, like the magic pony sleigh and the magic mistletoe, that isn't tripping your detectors. I also want to mention the toy Santa, played excellently by the American Pickle version of Tim Allen. Yeah, you forgot that movie existed too, didn't you? From the plastic makeup and the plastic beard, it's pretty good. His main goal is to be a substitute for Scott while also discovering how the world works. Only for him to adopt a different ideology on the way.
Children of the world don't deserve these presents. They're running rampant with naughtiness. So for this Christmas, we're going to give those greedy, selfish little kids exactly what they deserve. A beautiful, high-quality, yet low-sulfur variety of coal.
You know, the irony here is that I would do the exact same thing. I also like the toy Nazis. I don't know why, but I just like the way they walk, and I also like the costume design. And the climax with these things is really fun too. I also need to mention that this movie's North Pole is way better designed than the last movies. Not that the last movies was bad, it's just that this one's more creative, especially with that globe in the middle. Next up, the Council of Legendary Figures. Don't get used to them, cause they're in like 1 or 2 scenes in each movie. Okay, when I was a kid, I thought that Aunt Jemima over here was played by Halle Berry. She kinda does look like her, doesn't she? I also used to think that Father Time over here was God. No, seriously, I used to think he was God. By the way, did this movie predict Rise of the Guardians? I could say the Tooth Fairy scene is plot convenience, but come on, this scene is legit funny.
Let her rip. 1, 2, 3.
That almost killed my stuntman, and clearly I ain't going sailing no more. I also like how the Tooth Fairy's a dude, because it's a good subversion for kids. He's also well acted by the late Art Lafleur. I need to work on my French.
Yeah.
Brush between meals, and don't forget the floss.
The costuming on the Easter Bunny is pretty well done too. I know he's meant to be Santa, but doesn't the mom find this weird that she's going up to a random old man who just so happens to be Buzz Lightyear? I also like the scene where the teachers revisit their old favorite childhood board games. because it definitely does stick to the spirit of Santa. Then there's Lucy, who manages to be well acted, and also pretty cute. Thank God she's not obnoxious like other movie kids are.
Are you an elf?
Of course not. Why'd you ask such a silly question?
How come you have pointy ears?
It's because I never ate my green vegetables. Do you eat your green vegetables?
Uncle Scott!
That is some great shit.
Strategy involves taking your enemy by surprise. It's good strategy. I count to 3.
I open that door, and we move out. Follow the leader. 1, 2, 3.
And then this happened. The Santa Claus 3 is basically the Shrek the Third of the franchise. A movie that everyone says is terrible, but me, I just find it very bland. Okay, that score is way too low for a movie like this. First off, the best part of the movie is, of course, Martin Short as Jack Frost. From the makeup to the acting to the suit, of course this guy is pretty funny. I like the part of the movie where he freezes the parents, because it's good suspense for Frost as a villain. Okay, even as a kid I never understood this scene. Is he not Sub-Zero anymore, or is he a good guy now, and that's what thawed out the parents?
You froze a volcano in Hawaii, you made it snow in the Amazon, and you frosted Mexico, sending all of the geese north for the winter.
All in favor of suspending Jack Frost from the Legendary Council?
If he's part of the council and they say earlier that he never shows up, does that imply that there are more legendary figures out there? Wouldn't it be more interesting if it was, say, a Ahsoka and the Jedi Council type situation?
Yes, and I mean it. If there's one icicle out of place, you are gone.
Because Stalin sure as hell got a second chance. And how in the freezing hell did no one notice the out-of-place ice babies anywhere? I also like this scene.
Hold on, here we go.
Why can't this character play a role in the upcoming Villains Land at Disney World? Now let's go on to the family subplot.
You know, Neil, Lucy, and Laura should be here for this. They left a while ago. I wonder where they...
How come no one saw his sneaky little ass? Who is this character? Kitty Softpaws? I invented Jill! It's funny because it came from his butt. Basically, this is Charlie's family first time coming to the North Pole, and why were they in the opening title card? And why is Charlie barely in this movie? I get that they established that he's hanging out with his girlfriend that he committed vandalism with in the last movie, but at the same time, do what's best for the movie and not what's best for the lore. Then we have Carol's parents.
Smooth as a baby's butt now. Very butt-like.
Hey look, Santa's touched a bunch of babies' asses. By the way, how much do you want to bet that's not what an elderly house is going to look like in the next 20 years? I like that they established that they never see Carol in the first place, which is sad once you get into the perspectives of these families. By the way, you want to hear their dumbass reason as to why Scott can't come out of the Santa Claus closet to his in-laws?
Sir, the SOS, secret of Santa? There could be dire consequences. The possibilities increase exponentially that the closely guarded secret of the North Pole's true location could be compromised, and Christmas, as we know it, would cease to exist, crushing the hopes and dreams of the world's children and extinguishing the joy of Santa's magic forever!
They are the unemployed elderly. I think the secret is safe with them. Well, unless if you're Bruce Willis as of late, but hey. So because of that, they disguised the North Pole as Canada. Very unconvincing. They need beady little eyes and flapping heads. And guess what, crackers? It works.
Well, this is what Canadians look like.
You're Santa Claus, aren't you? I also need to mention that Curtis is the head elf now, because the actor of Bernard, David Krumholtz, was busy filming a show called Numbers. You never heard of that show either, haven't you? Speaking of elves, these are the most miserable elves in the movie. What the freezing hell? Guess the Chinese labor Santa Claus jokes hold up pretty well, don't they?
Snow globe. Santa. I wish that I had never become Santa at all. Wait, what's this? This is the part where I'm transported through time and everything goes back to the way it was, like I'd never become Santa at all.
Red deer, I flippin' love that. Then we have Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is more suitable for another movie, especially with the family plot for most of the movie, and the alternate timeline is the entire third act. There's so much you could do with this plot in like one movie, especially what was described what happened to Carol.
Can you help me find Carol?
Carol Newman, the principal of Charlie's school? Carol Newman?
Yeah, do you know where she is?
I don't know. She moved away, ran out of local kids to terrify, I guess. I don't know.
Also, why do they say that Scott is a terrible deadbeat father who barely has time to see his family when literally in the first movie they establish that it's the complete opposite?
Neil has been taking Lucy to the North Pole ever since he and I got a divorce, remember?
So you and Neil stayed functional because Scott was Santa? Quite an unhealthy relationship if you were to ask me.
Scott, I know you think therapy is like witchcraft, but you of all people might consider it.
Please, please. Just tell me.
Maybe you don't really know because you were never around. It shouldn't be any news to you, Scott. You were never a father to Charlie. He would put all the pressure on me, and guess what? He didn't want me to be his father. Which messed things up pretty good between me and Laura. You want me to go on, Scott?
That's actually not that bad, especially once you take the first movie into consideration. I do like the idea of Frost turning the North Pole into a theme park, with a bunch of spoiled kids, and the elves having a better reason to be miserable than just being elves. But...
This junk is not what Christmas is about.
Hey, you're the one who gave it all up.
Because you tricked me.
Tricked you.
Excuse me, sir, did this man used to be Santa? Again, not a horrible, horrible movie. I still watch it every year for the sake of nostalgia and the Christmas spirit. And that's what matters in the end.